Good morning. Welcome to Canning with Kate. I am Kate, and today we are going to be having a lot of fun canning fruit, and hopefully if I have enough time, I'm going to be canning my green beans that I've been wanting to do for a while. They were on sale for 99 cents a pound, and I was like, I have to grab those because I have not found those for a while, and they were in good condition, so gotta can them, right? All right, so I will show you the cookbook that I am using for canning the fruit, and we will get started. All right, here is the ball book that I am choosing to use. And again, there are quite a few recipes in here that were in the previous ball book that I showed you, but this is still a good one to have. I'm going to be canning grapes and then the apricots in syrup. So this one has how to make the syrups. So today we're doing the light syrup. So I've got my apricots are all cut and washed and cored. My grapes are all washed and de-stemmed. So we are going to have to do 2 separate loads. I was hoping to do just one, but because of the processing time, they are going to be a little bit different. So I have my light syrup all heated up and ready to get mixed. Over here we have apricots and the grapes. So you see the apricots and the grapes are in a water solution. I use this Fruit Fresh Produce Protector. This is not necessary. You can just use lemon juice as well. But if you have this, use it. If you don't, use lemon juice. And this just kind of helps prevent the browning process. It's not necessary, but I know my kids, if they see fruit looking brown, they don't care if it tastes good. They don't care if it is perfectly fine. They're not going to eat it. So I'm trying to make sure that my kids actually eat the fruit that I am preserving today. So here we have all our jars ready. They are washed, warmed up. It's important to, if you're doing a hot pack, then you want to make sure that your jars are not cold because it can lead to cracking and breaking in the process of the canning. So I have all this stuff ready. I have my ladle, all my dish towels ready, clean. I have the rings are all washed and my lids are all washed and ready to go. I have my canner is heating up, so it's not cold water. If you always want to remember this rule of thumb. If you're doing cold jars, you want to have cold jars, cold liquid, cold canner. So that's the rule of thumb. If you are doing a hot pack, you make sure that you have hot jars, hot water, and a hot canner all the time. Otherwise, you're going to create stress in the jars and create fractures, and then you're going to lose the food that you worked hard to preserve. So you don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start ladling in. I'm going to start with the apricots. So let's get started.
All right, sorry.
All right, so here I am ladling my apricots in. You don't need to wash off the fruit protector or the lemon juice. You just start ladling in. The recipe said to do halves, but I felt like halves might be too big and I wouldn't get as much produce in my jars. You don't even have to use a ladle for these. Sometimes you just want to use your clean and washed fingers or hands to put these in, just to kind of stuff them in there. Now, the reason I'm doing hot pack is because the heat from the syrup is going to help release the air bubbles in the fruit, so you don't get shrinkage as much in the fruit, which is what I want to prevent. So you can certainly do a raw pack. You can do a hot pack on either of these. It doesn't matter, whichever you prefer. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and ladle all of these up, and then I will bring you back when I start putting in the syrup. closet. All right, so I have all of my jars filled. Now I have to tell you that the ball book said about 8 pounds of apricots would give me only 8 pint jars. So clearly it gave me double. So just be aware sometimes that happens, and I've noticed that happens more in the ball books than it does in any other canning book. So be prepared for a higher amount of actual preserved food than it tells you to, which is, you know, a blessing, unless you don't have enough jars ready, and then it can kind of be annoying because you have to go and wash more jars and get more jars prepared. But instead of just having 8 pints, now I have 16, 17 pints of apricots ready for the pantry in just a while, which is awesome. So I am just filling these jars to the 1 inch mark, 1 inch headspace, with my light syrup. And once they all get full, then I'm going to do a debubble and then recheck the headspace.
What is the light syrup made of?
Mine is made of water and monk fruit.
Cool.
So you can do monk fruit if you choose. Otherwise, just use regular sugar or your sweetener of preference.
Cool.
But we're using monk fruit.
Canning.
Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish filling up these jars, and I will be back with you in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so here I am. I've got all of my jars filled with the light syrup. Now, I am going to have to add more because after I debubble, sometimes the level of your syrup or your water or your liquid will go down below the safety for the headspace. Now in these peaches, or
Apricots.
you need a 1/2 inch headspace. So like I said, this little tool will give you a guideline for the 1/2 inch mark. So I want my liquid to be at this point. So I also tripled the light syrup because I have noticed that the ball, when I am doing, I'm making a mess, the ball syrup, I always end up needing a lot more than what I make, so I tripled it. And even though my recipe only got doubled, I am almost completely out of the syrup. So my suggestion is to always make at least a double batch of syrup if you're using the ball book. It's just a good rule of thumb, and if you have extra, great, and if you don't, then that is good too. So I'm just going to readjust my headspace on all of these jars, and then I will wipe them down with a clean hot towel with water. A lot of people use vinegar to wipe down their jar rims. I have chosen not to, and that's just my personal preference. I feel safe and comfortable not using vinegar to wipe them down, and I feel like it preserves my lids a little bit longer, just using the water. Some people are going to tell you differently, but I think to each his own on that. So here we are, almost done. Canning can be a very messy activity, at least for me. Okay, so everything is done. Now I'm going to take a clean, dry cloth. I'm going to go get some hot water, and then I'm going to just wipe down all the rims on my jars. I will show you that in just a second.
Okay.
All right, so here I am, my last 3 jars. I'm just wiping these down with a hot, clean towel, wiping the rims. You want to make sure that you don't have anything on those rims because that can prevent a seal. So that's why it's so important to have your rims nice and clean before you put your lids on. Otherwise, it's not going to seal, and that's just not fun. So here I am. I'm going to put all of these on fingertip tight. So again, you just kind of spin on your lid, and once it starts to stop, then you just tighten it just a tiny bit more, because if you over tighten, you're going to get a buckling of the lid, which doesn't mean it didn't seal. It just means that you should probably use that one first out of your stash. Or if you tighten it too little, then it won't seal. Okay, so I have all of my jars in. And I'm going to show you how to do a double stack because I have enough jars that I need to do a double stack. And this is my son, he did my photography there. Okay, so here we go. So I have in my canner, I'm preparing for a steam bath. You can see underneath I have 8 or 9 jars on the first layer. Then I took my second plate and I put that over the jars, just set them on top, and now I have my last layer of jars, and this is totally fine. Now you can't do this with quarts, you can only do this with pints on the All-American. All right, so I have my the lip of my lid has been greased with olive oil. All of my jars are in and my water is heating up. Now I'm going to increase that a little bit. I'm going to put my lid on, make sure it's seated correctly, and we will get this party started. All right, I will show you when it starts to steam, and we will start the countdown time. See you in a few. I also forgot to mention that you want to bring up the heat slowly when you are doing your canning. So start at like a medium low, and then once you get your jars in, you can put it to medium, wait, give it some time, like 7 minutes is usually what I set my timer for, and then you can gradually increase it. The reason for this is because if you don't do that, if you just crank it up really high really quickly, it's not going to hurt anything, but you could experience a lot of siphoning, which means that the liquid in your jars is going to come out of it, and it just doesn't look nice. So it's not going to hurt the food, but it's better if you don't have as much siphoning from your jars. So I had originally had my flame level at like a medium low, then I increased it to a little bit less than medium. So in about 5 more minutes, I'm going to go ahead and increase it again. And then after another 7 minutes or so, I'll just increase it a little bit just to make sure that I don't get as much siphoning as I could if I just cranked it all the way up right away. So it takes patience. All right, see you in a few. All right, so I am back. We are starting the timer. I'm going to show you the steam. See, it's steaming pretty good. All right, so you can see my timer is starting, and this time because I have a double stack, it actually took a lot longer for it to come up to steam. So instead of doing nothing, I decided to go ahead and start my next project, which is the green beans. So you can see that I have been snapping green beans just to get those ready. And so after these 25 minutes in the steamer, I'm going to turn off the heat source, and then I'm going to set a timer for 5 more minutes, because remember, when you steam can, you need to keep the lid and everything on in place 5 extra minutes after the process time, just to, I guess, finish the processing. If you're doing a water bath canning, you don't need to do that. You just turn off the heat source, remove the lid, and leave them in there for another 5 minutes. But because we're doing a steam can, we need to keep that lid on and just keep it sealed for 5 extra minutes. So in about 30 minutes, I will come back to you and we will check out our apricots. I'm very excited to add those to my pantry, and I hope that you are enjoying this. All right, see you in 30. Okay, I am back and we are going to open up the canner. Let's see. Now, these do get hot if you have an All-American. They do get quite warm. If you have a Presto, I don't know, but that's another good canner. The Presto pressure canner. Okay, so we are going to slowly open this. See all that amazing steam. Oh man. Okay, so I do have some siphoning going on. Hopefully I will still be able to get those sealed. And I did get a lot of green beans done.
You have some what?
Siphoning.
What's that?
It's when that liquid comes out. All right, so I'm just going to take my jar lifter, carefully lift it up. Remember, you don't want to turn it down. Okay, so I'm just going to take all of my jars and carefully place them on a towel. You don't want to put it directly on a countertop because, again, the temperature is going to be quite different, so it could crack your jars. So I'm going to put all of those there, and then I am just going to let them sit for 12 to 24 hours until they hopefully all seal. And then tomorrow morning I will be checking the seals and washing them and getting them put up on the pantry shelf. So in my next video I will be showing you how to do the grapes. So getting those ready, and then I will join you again. All right, see you on the next side.